If you've ever wondered what it was like to do an ayahuasca ceremony, let me walk you through our experience at Tonkiri Sanctuary in Guatemala. We booked a 2-night retreat, which included 2 ayahuasca ceremonies, meals every day, vegan, vegetarian, or chicken and fish, accommodations for 2 nights in a really cute glamping cabin, a Temazcal ceremony, flower baths, and guidance and counseling. Upon our arrival, Paola showed us to our room and then told us that she was making lunch for us. These 2 beautiful kitties that lived on the property quickly became our friends. Whenever I travel, I always miss my little dog Freckles at home. What brought us here to do this really serious work was at the end of April, my boyfriend and I were jumped and assaulted at a nightclub. And I know if you've been following me, you're so sick of hearing about it, but this was my reality and it was something that really shook us and threw things off. We tried Western talk therapy at home and it wasn't really effective, so here we are in Guatemala to start this healing work. This is a tour of our super cute A-frame cabin. After lunch, we laid down in our cabin to take a nap before the night ceremonies would begin. One of the things I loved about Tonkiri Sanctuary was how peaceful it was. The peaceful environment in nature made this work a lot easier to do. This baby cat, Aki, that lived on the property and I quickly became close friends. This is Runan Kushi, the founder and healer of Tonkiri Sanctuary. Runan was born in Peru and has been studying plant medicine for over 20 years. This first ceremony was meant to cleanse us with a flower bath and some tobacco. Here's the flower bath that we dumped all over our bodies in the shower. And after that, we headed over to the main ceremony room where we would be until the next morning. The ceremony and yoga room was gorgeous and peaceful. We had all these mattress pads and blankets that we could choose from to make our ceremony as comfortable as humanly possible. There's little Aki coming in to keep us company. And at the end of that previous clip, you saw Runan and Adrian talking about the things that he personally wanted to work on, after which I followed and had a long talk with Runan about the things I would personally like to work on. This is my second ayahuasca ceremony and Adrian's first, so we were both a bit nervous. Every healer operates a little bit differently, so we didn't really know what to expect, and we're just kind of hanging out and waiting for Runan's lead. Runan instructed us that in the time before it was fine that our beds were this close to each other, but when the ceremonies would start, it was best that we move our beds further away from each other so that our energies could be our own for our own individual experiences. At 8 p.m., Runan began the ceremony where he started to bless the ayahuasca before we drank it. Next to him is his partner Vicky, who also assisted on the ceremonies and was so helpful. I won't sugarcoat it, I got really sick from the ayahuasca, but they say that's all the bad things being cleansed from your body. With all the stress, anxiety, panic attacks, everything I'd been holding and carrying before coming here, it wasn't really a surprise to me with how hard of a time I had on the ayahuasca ceremony. But to me, it was 100% worth it and necessary to move forward. After Runan finished his ceremonies blessing the ayahuasca, he came over and administered it to us. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it does not taste good. As the ceremony began, the lights were turned off and the music started to glide us into our journey. It was a mix of music on playback and Runan singing some spiritual songs. Somewhere in the ceremony, all of us passed out, fell asleep, and we woke up to the sun coming up. As we walked outside from the ceremony room, this was the view. It was absolutely gorgeous to wake up to. Paola made us a delicious breakfast and we sat down and ate. I was starving after the all-night ceremony.
And so in ayahuasca ceremonies, they really encourage vomiting and eliminating from both ends because they say it's purging the negative things inside of you. And I take it as that's why it happened to me so early on in the ceremony, because coming here, leading up to it, since the assault 3 months ago, I've been having intense crippling anxiety every day, violent panic attacks, a few times a week. And I think it was just all of that, like really coming out to leave my body. And then during the ceremony too, I had like just intense anxiety, intense fear, and my hands were literally shaking. Like my pinkies were uncontrollably shaking, and I was like having to hold my own hands. And we had talked about it, and they say like it's best to sit up during the ceremonies because then if you have negative thoughts, those negative thoughts can leave a lot easier than if you're laying down. But unfortunately, just like my first ceremony, it was so terrifying, so uncomfortable that all I could do was lay down on my side in the fetal position, and I just could not stop vomiting. It was uncontrollable this time, but I will say today I do feel a lot lighter after all of that purging of all these negative things that have been festering inside of me the last few months since that assault and everything around it. So we have another ayahuasca ceremony tonight. I'm dressed in a bikini because we're getting ready to do a Temazcal, which is another version of cleansing. I was telling Adrian that this is the fast track to healing, right? It's terrifying. It's obviously a lot more extreme, but it's the fast track of like, you want to change your life in 1 week, go hike up a volcano, do some really intense physical activity like that, and then come here and do this kind of healing, and you'll change your life in a week.
After breakfast, we laid down to relax in our cabin for a bit, which had not been used all night since we slept in the ceremony room, and then we got ready for the Temazcal ceremony. If you've never done a Temazcal ceremony, it's basically a sweat lodge, and the dome shape of it is supposed to symbolize a womb or the earth. Rudin, our healer or shaman, does a ceremony with drums, incantations, and prayers. And here he is blessing us before going in for the ceremony to start. I'll be 100% honest, a lot of the stuff he was doing, I had no idea what it was, but I just went with it and trusted him. The Temazcal ceremony were meant to pass through the 4 symbolic doors of life that represent the elements earth, wind, fire, and water. We had our bucket of a cool flower bath to pour on us during the hot lodge ceremony. This is one of my favorite songs that Rune sang throughout multiple ceremonies. The temperature gradually increases as more hot stones are added. When we were finished, we were encouraged to do the cold flower bath, which helps you ground with nature and promote peace and balance. Rune told us if we showered, don't shower with soap after this, so that the flowers could stay on our body and keep cleansing our energies.
This is nice, actually. Take a little ice bath. The flower bath. Feel like a little woodland princess. Did you need a flower bath, baby?
Now it was Adrian's turn, but he was not quite as brave as me and did not want to dump the ice water over his head like I did.
How you feel after the Temazcal?
Pretty big restart.
After the Temazcal, Paola made us another delicious lunch, light, healthy, and easily digestible for the next ayahuasca ceremony.
Tonight we're doing our second ayahuasca ceremony, and I'm really nervous because last night's ceremony was really, really hard for me. It was really scary, and I threw up a lot. So I'm really nervous about tonight's. Are you nervous, baby?
I am going to be doing a little bit more tonight, so yes.
I'm supposed to be doing less because of my reaction last night, but I'm really scared still.
This is my barf bucket that was next to me that I was hugging through the ceremony. The ceremony started at 8 p.m. again, and Rune began his rituals of blessing the ayahuasca. Even though I had a really hard time on the previous night's ceremony, I still felt confident about this one because of how Rune and Vicky cared for us during the ceremonies. They made us feel very safe, very protected, and very taken care of. They made us feel very comfortable that we had a safe space to do this very hard emotional work.
I'm so scared after last night. Oh no.
And here we go again. I was super scared. The ayahuasca takes about an hour to hit on the come up. And one of the biggest things I noticed, and Adrian said the same, is that the medicine kind of messes with your eyes where it's hard to really see and focus on things. But don't be scared. It goes away when the medicine wears off. I loved the song that Rune sang during the ceremonies. It felt like a marching song to me.
It's now the afternoon after our second ayahuasca ceremony last night. We are heading back to LA this evening, and just wanted to give a little recap on what happened. Obviously, I'm not filming during the ceremony because the medicine is pretty intense, so it affects your eyes a lot. Vision is difficult. Last night I didn't take as much last night as the night before. I was given less because of the intense reaction I had the first ceremony. I did vomit. No butt sick this time, thankfully. But I definitely vomited. Adrian was given more this time. This little angel, she's so sweet. Adrian was given more this time, and he still didn't vomit. Good for him. But it was still scary. It was intense. Little Aki here kept me company, so she was so helpful with the anxiety that I was having. I still like to think it's the anxiety coming out so that it can leave. But she cuddled with me the whole time. She's a little hunter, so she would dart off to go hunt, and then it was so sweet. She'd come back and she'd come up on my lap, and I just held her all night. And then after a couple hours into the ceremony, I got pretty tired, so I had to lay down, and little Aki here cuddled with me the whole night. And are you gonna go hunt, sweetie? Do you want to go hunt? She cuddled with me the whole night, and whenever I'd roll over to switch sides because my ear would fall asleep or whatever, she would, okay, goodbye, sweetheart. She would come up on my neck and was just purring on me, and it made it a lot more comfortable. Adrian and I were talking about it, and I said, oh, I wonder if that inhibited the experience at all. And he made a good point that says, healing and progress doesn't have to be painful. So she did bring me a lot of comfort, because the first night was really hard without her. She cuddled a little bit the first night, but it was just a good experience. I mean, they say with ayahuasca, you really see the effects after the fact. So I'm looking forward to seeing the ripple of it, but I definitely am feeling a lot lighter, a lot less anxious, a lot happier, and I feel like I can breathe again. I was saying that, before we came here, I felt like a quarter of a person, a half of a person. As much as people on the internet like to say that, oh, I'm so sick of hearing about, the assault that we went through, or it wasn't that bad. That was my experience, and other people don't know what it was, but it's been really hard for us. It's taken a big toll on our well-being and just our overall wellness. So I'm so grateful that we had this experience, and finally we're able to come and take the proper time to heal, because if you've been following me for a while, you've seen that I've never been a fan of Western medicine. I've done it a lot since my childhood, all throughout my adult life, and it's just, I've never really felt the benefits from it. Maybe a couple small pieces here and there, but for the most part, it hasn't been that helpful for me. These kinds of practices have been a lot more helpful for me, so I can't recommend them enough. It's absolutely the fast track to healing. I was telling Adrian that it's like change your life in a week. 1 week to change your life, because our trip was 6 days, and we did the really hard things of hiking the volcano, which was incredibly difficult physically. With both of us being in really good shape, it was so hard. Definitely one of the hardest physical things I've ever done. And then to do this retreat with really intense emotional work, that was also really difficult. So I'm so happy that we did it. I feel confident that we can go back to LA being whole people again, and move on with our lives, and move in an upward motion instead of just getting by, making it through the days barely. With the crippling anxiety I was having, multiple violent panic attacks a week, it's not a way to live. So I'm so thankful that we did this, and I'm so thankful to Runin and Vicky and Guadalupe, who set up the Temazcal and takes care of the property, and Paola, who made us the delicious healthy meals. So I'm just so thankful.
After all the ceremonies, Runan gave me some homework to take home with me. This is a Renikia vine, which he gave to help me heal my wounded feminine energy. Instructions were to drink this tea in the morning and the evening, along with a very difficult spiritual cleanse, which I did for 4 weeks after coming home from our ayahuasca ceremony. The cleanse included no salt, no sugar. The only fruit I was allowed to have was berries. No fried foods, no spicy foods, no fats, not even avocado. No sexual stimulation whatsoever, and no conflict. The cleanse was difficult, but I have now since completed it, and I'm so glad I did it.